Am I the a-hole for calling my stepmom a whore? A few months ago, I literally never would have thought I'd be making this post. But here we go. My 16 female mom and dad got divorced a few months ago this year, and it was devastating for the whole family. But by far the worst on my mom. My dad had been cheating on her for 4 to 5 months with this woman from his department at work, called Laura. And basically, as soon as the divorce was finalized literally this summer, he married Laura in a small wedding that I refused to go to. Background on my mom, 43 female. She is probably my favorite person in the world. She's genuinely so sweet and gentle and has always been my primary caregiver / emotional support throughout my whole life. Thanks a lot, Dad. And she was always really loyal to him. So this was not a both cheating situation. She was obviously distraught when my dad confessed to cheating and left. But I can tell she tried to hide it from me a bit because she would always tell me to go out with my friends whenever she was crying or doing legal stuff around the divorce. Laura, 41 female, is the opposite of my mom. She is vapid and annoying, and very much the dumb, shallow, bleach blonde type that makes you think she would be 19 in terms of emotional maturity. But no, she's actually middle-aged and only 2 years younger than my mom. She knew my mom was married to my dad and apparently embraced her role as mistress for months, even though she knew I existed because I saw her a couple of times in passing when I went to my dad's work. And he introduced me to Laura as his daughter. Laura has really been embracing the wife role since my parents' divorce and has been acting as though she's now some kind of a trad wife angel. Always making bread and acting sweet with me and stuff, as though she wasn't being a massive home wrecker this summer when I was doing my GCSEs. My parents get joint custody of me and live in the same small town. So at weekends, I stay with my dad and have to put up with him and his affair partner. I still think of Laura as that, lol, acting all lovey-dovey. I usually just stay in my room until it's over. I hate Laura, obviously. My relationship with my dad is more complex because although I'm furious with him, I still sort of love him because he's my dad. It culminated at breakfast this morning when Laura tried to call herself my stepmom when I said that a parents' evening at school was coming up, so my dad would have to go. She apparently wanted to go too. I was in a bad mood because I hate mornings anyway, so I muttered something mean about her intelligence under my breath. The conversation was basically as follows, summarized slightly. Her, don't talk to me like that, please, young lady. Me, I'll talk to you how I want. I know this was pretty rude. Please don't judge me too harshly. Her, I am your dad's wife now, and you just have to accept that, unfortunately. Me, and this is where it goes wrong. A whore with a ring is still a whore. That's when the conversation ended because Laura burst into tears, and my dad got really mad. I'm currently in my room writing this, not sure what to do. I'm starting to feel kind of guilty because it was my dad who cheated. But I don't forgive Laura, and I don't think I'll ever like her. I hate making people cry though, and I don't know whether to go down and apologize or stand my ground on this. My dad and Laura are acting like I said something crazy out of line, so I'm starting to think insulting her was the wrong move because I don't want to start some new massive family drama. Please tell me if I'm the a-hole, and if so, how can I make this right? Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. As a divorced parent with children of 14 and 9 and a lot of issues with the ex-wife, I have been through a lot of family court stuff. Our eldest kid moved away from mom to live with me, and I'd like to offer you this thought. You are 16 years old and you mentioned GCSEs, so I'm assuming UK family law applies here. If you don't want to go and stay with your dad because of his new partner and your opinion of this contribution to the end of the marriage to your mom, then to be honest, you can choose to do that. Family court orders are only in play if everyone agrees to them, and they're set up for the benefit of this child, that is, you. If you don't agree with them, you can just turn around and say, I'm not going to dad's. And a family court / social services, etc. will support this. My eldest is only 14 and has just done this literally for this weekend. Mom had no ground to stand on. I supported the kid because I understand why he has made this request, even though it's ruined my child-free plans for the weekend, lol. Thanks for the advice. I'm going to try and stay with my mom full-time from now on. And while I don't want to cut off my dad completely, I think I need time apart from him for a while to collect myself. There's nothing saying you can't head out and meet your dad for lunch or a film. and do something just the two of you whenever you get your head straight and want to be around him again. I think if you keep going to his every weekend like you are now, you're not giving yourself time to heal / come to terms with everything, and you'll end up resentful at him. That'll definitely harm your relationship with him in the long run compared to taking time away now. You've got a good head on your shoulders, Petal. Take care of yourself and give your mom a big hug when you go back home to her. You'll both feel better after a good hug. At 16, you're entitled to live wherever you like. Just live with your mother. By the time they get court orders finalized, you'll be 18 anyway. You can then see your dad on your terms if he isn't a complete a-hole. Thanks. That's what I've been trying to do. I want to maintain some sort of relationship with my dad, but obviously this has majorly soured it. I think people forget that when a parent cheats, it doesn't just affect the betrayed spouse, but also the children they have together. He put getting laid and cheating on your mother above you too, with zero regards in how it would affect his wife or his child. He betrayed you. I'm sorry about your situation, and I hope everything will turn out better for you. Sending you support from afar. So true. My dad always said, when a man cheats on his wife, he isn't just cheating on her. He's cheating on his entire family. Edit/mini update. Thank you so much to everyone supportive in these comments. I've decided to talk this through with a therapist, and I will try and live full-time with my mom now. I will not be cutting off my dad completely, but I'm gonna take a break and collect myself before I'm ready to spend time with him again. I appreciate all the good advice I've been given. Just to clarify, I am not more angry at Laura than my father. I know at the end of the day, it's Dad who broke the wedding vows. Trust me, he has had his tirade, lol. This is just specifically about her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for hosting a divorce party with my daughter the day my divorce proceedings against my cheating ex-wife were finalized? After almost a year, my divorce proceedings got finalized, and I was happy that it was finally over. My ex-wife had cheated on me and had an emotional affair, and that was the reason of the divorce. We also have a daughter who's 14, and she knows everything that happened. I hosted a party the day my proceedings were finalized, and I invited a couple of my friends and my sister over. My daughter was in the house too, and she seemed to be having a good time. We had nice food, drinks, dancing, karaoke night, and it was a good atmosphere. My sister also recommended we could burn the wedding photos I had in my wife's gifts, and it was a great suggestion. We even cooked s'mores over the fire. The next week, however, my ex-wife called and asked why I had done that, and that she felt degraded and humiliated, especially since we did it in front of our daughter. I told her our daughter wasn't affected by it, and in fact, she seemed to enjoy participating in throwing away the gifts in the fire. I told my ex-wife her issues are her issues, and to not involve me in them anymore. Was I the a-hole? Getting the kid involved is crappy, even if she enjoyed it. That has potentially to go boom in family court if things take a turn in that direction. Your ex-wife is an a-hole obviously, but don't be an a-hole too, especially in front of your kid. Yes, number one of a co-parenting relationship is don't talk smack about the other parent. You can be honest and truthful about what happened, but you have to learn to separate your feelings in front of your child. She's not your wife anymore, but she is still the mother of your child. Your child is going to internalize every awful thing you say about her mother, and that is not healthy for your child. By all means, do have that party on your own time, but it should not have happened in front of your minor child. You're the a-hole. Throwing a party is one thing. Involving your daughter in the burning of photos of her mother was way too far. I think burning the pictures when you have a child is already a bit reckless, regardless of involvement. You don't want the pictures, that's fine, but your daughter might want photos of her family together. You might just have to throw those in the attic instead of burning when you have a kid. If it was wedding photos, that might be alright if there are likely copies, but you have to consider whether your kid might want photos of mom and dad together 10 years down the line. My mom did that. As much as my father is an a-hole, he cheated on her with his secretary. I was angry at her for doing so, because it's my story. I lost a huge tangible piece of my story. My kids don't have the classic pictures of their grandparents' wedding. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not being okay with my husband's ex moving into our guest room even though she has nowhere else to go? My husband, 34 male, and I, 29 female, recently bought our first home together, and we were excited to finally have a space that was ours. A few weeks ago, my husband's ex-wife, 32 female, reached out to him with a request that completely threw me off. She asked if she could move into our guest room for a couple of months. She recently broke up with her boyfriend, lost her apartment, and claims she has nowhere else to go. I understand they share an 8-year-old daughter and they have a good co-parenting relationship, but this feels like too much. My husband didn't even consult me before telling her it might be possible. He just expected me to be okay with it because it's temporary and for the sake of their daughter. I offered to help her find another solution, even offering to chip in for a hotel or a rental, but my husband shut that down, saying I was making things difficult for no reason. He's been pushing hard, saying their daughter would benefit from her mom being nearby during this transitional time, but it feels manipulative to use their daughter as an excuse. Plus, his ex started texting him constantly way more than usual, and he's acting like her emotional support system. I can't help but feel like this is crossing a line. They're divorced, yet now I'm supposed to live with both of them under one roof? It feels like I'm being pushed out of my own home. This morning, things got worse. His ex texted me directly saying I must not care about their daughter if I'm unwilling to help. That's just not true. I care about their daughter, but I never agreed to share my home with his ex-wife. I feel like I'm being made out to be the bad guy here when all I want is reasonable boundaries. Now my husband and I are barely speaking. He's acting like I'm heartless for not wanting to help, but I feel like I'm being forced into a situation that makes me deeply uncomfortable. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. His ex texted me directly, saying I must not care about their daughter if I'm unwilling to help. If they cared about their daughter, they wouldn't have set up this insanely tense living situation and skewed her understanding of healthy boundaries. Not the a-hole. That's exactly what I've been thinking. How is creating a tense, awkward environment beneficial for their daughter? It's definitely not teaching her healthy boundaries. I'm all for supporting her well-being, but this situation seems like it would only cause more confusion and stress for everyone involved, especially their daughter. They're trying to frame it as what's best for her, but honestly, it feels more like they're just avoiding other solutions that would be much healthier for all of us. Even if this isn't malicious, it would be extremely confusing. What if the daughter got it in her head that her parents would get back together and OP wasn't away? Although honestly, this is so weird. Be very clear. If he wants her to move in so badly, he can buy you out of the house and you'll move out. Be very clear that he won't share a home or a husband with his ex. No hinting, no subtlety, no room for interpretation. I'm not telling you that she can't move in. I'm telling you that I won't share a house or a spouse with your ex. If she moves in, I'll be moving out. And I want it in writing before she takes residence that you're buying me out of full market value and that you understand why I'm leaving. From there, should you still want to move her in, communicate only by text or email, so you have a paper trail for your lawyer. I completely agree. The fact that he would not even make this a discussion between him and his wife before making the decision to move her in is a huge red flag. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my grandpa he needs to cut off my mom to have a relationship with me? Title is a lie. I don't want him to be in my life, period. But I just needed something to actually get him to back off. So I, 21 male, have never had a relationship with my mom. She's never been in my life at all. My dad said she didn't want to be my mom anymore when I was around 2, and just left and has just paid child support. He tried for months to initiate contact and try to get her to see me, but she refused. It caused some identity problems, as well as questioning myself if I was good enough from a young age, but I've grown from that. Anyway, my dad never stopped her family from seeing us, and I met my aunts and my grandparents. I did love being around them and everything, but around my teenage years, everything changed. I found out that they were still in contact with her and seemed to have a pretty good relationship. They just acted like what she had done to me didn't exist at all. I tried to move from my feelings, but I couldn't. So when I was 15, I told my dad I didn't want to see them anymore. He was shocked and asked me why, and I told him that the only connection I have to them is through my mom, and my mom isn't my mom, so they're not technically family. I was 15, okay? Bear with me. He tried talking to me several times, but I didn't budge. Finally, he ended up calling and talking of them and telling my feelings. They didn't understand, and even accused him of manipulating me, which he never has. They kept showing up at my dad's house without his permission and caused a lot of drama. At one point, they tried to sue for grandparents' rights, but it didn't work. I blocked them from my contact and just pretend they didn't exist. I had my siblings, dad, stepmom, grandparents, and aunts and uncles from my dad's side. I was going to be fine, and I was. I've moved on from them, and now I'm a nurse and living a pretty okay life. The problem, though, is I've been getting messages and emails from my grandpa. It's basically been saying that now that I'm grown and out of my dad's house, if I'd be willing to have a relationship with him again. I've been ignoring them for the most part, but decided to respond after he tried guilt-tripping me. I told him that I don't want a relationship with him or his wife or his daughters at all, and I'd appreciate if he left me alone. I told him it broke my heart as a kid when I saw him basically ignore his daughter's treatment of me and acted like everything was fine. He responded saying that they had their fights and disagreements over it, but he couldn't abandon her since she was still his daughter. I ended up telling him that if he wanted a relationship with me, he would have to cut her off. That seemed to shut him up, and he just said he is really sorry how everything played out and hopes in the future I'll be open to a relationship with him. I just got annoyed and told him to buzz off and blocked him again. I don't plan to ever speaking to him, and I'm just here since my friends think I was too harsh with him. Am I the a-hole? Even after you are an established adult, your crappy mom wants nothing to do with you. Ignore all of them. If it's okay their daughter abandoned you, they should be okay with you abandoning them. Thanks, that's my view. It's funny that he knew it was wrong to abandon his daughter, but didn't see the wrong with his daughter abandoning you. Right, double standard. But it's fine, I'm not losing anything keeping them away. Lol.